Hello. Hello, everyone. Here we are live on the Hangout for Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. And we're going to have an experience today that I know you all will connect with. And it's about EQ, emotional intelligence. And as we put out there, do you get, emotional hijack? Do you get hijacked, those emotions take over, your relationships and business and your life. Now, this is about what Matt Perelstein, who we have here today as our guest, is going to be talking about emotional intelligence, EQ. And he says, intelligent mind, IQ, plus smart heart, EQ, equals wisdom, happiness, success in business, in love, and in life. That sounds really good to me. I like putting those things together. So also today, my co-host and partner and all those good things is here joining us, Lynn Hawkins. And Lynn Hawkins, you want to introduce yourself and say anything about our guest today and about what we're doing and all those good things?
I sure do. Thank you, Cynthia. I am so excited to welcome our audience tonight to our second show of the Adventures of the Heart. My name is Lynn Hawkins, and I am the founder of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship and the creator of the Permission Movement and the Permission Movement Experience. And I am so excited because Cynthia and I have been talking so much about this whole emotional intelligence topic. And to be here tonight with the EQ dude, I am stoked. I am so stoked. So, Matt, I get the privilege of saying welcome, and just tell us a little bit about you and about how you got started on this journey into emotional intelligence.
Okay, well, thanks, Lynn, and thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate having me. Well, emotions, we got them. Mine were a mess when I was younger. When I realized that it was just emotions that were messing me up, and I found out some ways of doing them better. I'm now all on about telling everybody about them. I'm not selling me. I'm trying to sell you on you, kind of thing. We don't learn this stuff in school, so we got to learn it somewhere.
You're so right about that.
Awesome. And Matt, I ended up meeting Matt through my own experience. I am the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness, and I also created a technique or a process called Heartmonics, so that you can learn more about your heart. And it was through some research and everything that I wanted to know more about the smart heart, about our emotions and everything. And all of a sudden I came upon this guy, Matt Perelstein, the EQ dude, and EQ rocks, and all the things that he was doing with that through my research. And I was like, I got to know this guy. I got to find out more about him, because he was speaking my language, and he was talking about no feeling, no healing was a big thing that I was saying. And then, I was watching him on his video channel and some of the things he was doing on there. And I was like going, I have to meet this man. I have to bring him out along with the Heartmonics and what we're really wanting to educate people on, around our emotions, around what we're feeling. And so here we are today, having that opportunity, and I'm so glad that we can bring him here to express and educate us more about our emotions, because energy and motion, that's a big thing that's going on. And can you speak more about that, Matt? I'm going to turn it all over to you.
Okay. Well, it is energy in motion, and as I said, when we tend to learn in school about our left brain logical side, but not about the feelings and emotions that go on inside of us. For me personally, I was really disappointed with school. I went all the way through school and all the way through college, and I got a good education, but I didn't get educated on stuff that really mattered to me. I knew all this cool stuff for getting a job and being smart and that kind of thing, but that kind of intelligence it wasn't working for me. I had a lot more needs than that, and there was a whole parts of me that I didn't understand, I didn't like. I had a lot of shame in my life, and I, like I said, I got out of school not happy about it, not happy about the whole thing at all, and it didn't go very well. So I found some ways of, I went to some classes in Colorado actually, and where Cynthia lives, and found out that a lot of this has to do with our feelings. To me, I thought I was a mess. I mean, I went to a psychiatrist in 6th grade. Now think about that, what that's like for a boy to get out of PE to go to a psychiatrist. How do you explain that to your friends? Anyway,
Yeah.
so they like to label and diagnose you and all that kind of stuff, and that's what was happening. I thought I was really a mess, but what I found out later on is that it was all a bunch of feeling stuff inside of me that I didn't know how to deal with them. I'm a real sensitive guy, and just all this stuff going on, and I didn't understand them. I didn't like them, like I said, and it didn't go well. So once I'd found out about it, I'm like, okay, guys, hey, woo.
I'm.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. I was going to say, I can so relate to what you're talking about, because going through school, I was the kind of kid that I was a sponge. And that excitement for learning, probably had I not been getting the kind of grades that I was getting, would have been totally misinterpreted. And, even as an adult, I've met people who were labeled educable, the whole stick them under the table, dig a hole in the ground for them now and put them in there, because they are not going to amount to anything that's going to be a productive piece of society or part of society. And that's just not true. And I'm so grateful that this aspect of understanding has been brought to the world, because there are a lot of kids now who, because of diet, because of not enough sleep, are actually experiencing some things that if they only knew more about how their bodies worked and what they needed, they would be more emotionally balanced. And, I say balanced, and the word that originally came to mind was stable, but that's not the right word. People say, I want to be emotionally stable. No, you don't, because then you get into the place where you start shutting down those feelings versus understanding them. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I totally agree. Yep, a lot of people want to either stay calm and just be, like you said, stable, and that you lose the ups and downs of the good and bad about it, and then other people, are scared of getting out there and feeling any of the negative feelings, and what happens is they end up cutting off all our feelings, like you said, and you end up shutting down. You're trying to avoid anger, you're trying to avoid fear, and you're trying to avoid sadness, and in the meantime, you don't get the highs, you don't get the love and the peace and the serenity and the excitement and the passion that you were talking about. So it's kind of a package deal. If you cut one off, you cut them all off.
You're right.
Well, gosh, I totally get all that. After a lot of the abuse and everything I went through as a kid, I just stashed everything away. I just became, just very quiet and didn't share my emotions, didn't share who I am or anything. And it took me a little while to bring all those out. Once I did, hey, look out, here we are, But also, I have two sons, and one was more, really sensitive and emotional, and he went through very similar things like you have, Matt. So I want to ask you, so how, there's a question here, like, how our feelings are generated. You were talking about that you have 4 steps to learning this, 3 steps to good emotional health, and 7 steps to healing negative feelings. And you have all those different things. Can you take us through, those kind of, experiences and help us understand a little bit more about our feelings, our emotions, that emotional intelligence that we have?
Sure. The very simplest, I wish I could show you on the graphic, but very simplest is the first, be aware. The awareness is always the first key to understanding and to changing anything, because if we're not aware, we can't do anything about it, right? We're clueless. So awareness is always first. Go ahead.
So real quick, Matt, so do you have something that you can do a visual with? Because if you do, on your screen, if you take your, and we can do this with everybody here, because if you want to share that, if you put your mouse and to the left of your screen, and you'll see things pop out on the side, there's a green, the second one down, there's a green arrow, and it says screen share. You can share your screen if you have those up on your screen. If you don't, then we'll continue on however you'd like to do that. And yeah, so I'm, however, just hearing this and understanding it more is wonderful. But I know you wanted to kind of share some of the, a little visual for us.
Yes, we know that, a lot of the emotional balance that we're talking about, this emotional intelligence, comes from also understanding what kind of learners we are, what kind of personalities we are. If we're visual or auditory or kinesthetic, we like to have our hands into things in order to learn them. And we know that with a lot of the work that we're doing, a lot of our audience is really very visual. So the visuals that you have, I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, and we'll just see if these come up, because we had have had some sometimes some technical difficulties and learning this whole process too. And Matt, we introduced him to this whole new way of a whole new experience to be on Hangouts on air. And so if it doesn't come up and you want to just continue on with what you started with too, let's just whatever feels good.
While you're doing that, I want to get to a point, because Cynthia, I think you may be able to address this. Matt saying that our feelings are generated. What are they generated from? And how can we look at our feelings being something that's generated from inside of us and kind of do it a little better? So what would you rather have instead if it's a negative thing?
Well, I know Matt's going to have something to say to that for sure. I mean, we all have different, there's been a couple different things of learnings, but we're also learning new things about ourselves, such as what I studied. The main thing is the heart, and from what I understand from a lot of the research that's come up and all those things, is it's generated from the heart. The heart is the central communication center for every single one of your cells. And I understand that we feel first before we think. Now, Matt and I had a little discussion about that, because he has a different little take on that. So I'd like to hear, his view and perception, and from what his understanding too in research, because it's really interesting what comes up from the different perspectives and information that we receive from the different science that's being and research that's being put out there. So thanks for asking that question. But I really feel it is the heart, and there's a lot of research that supports that, and I do talk about that. We talked about that in our first show, Ventures of the Heart, and the mysteries of the heart. So we talked about a lot of those studies and some of the mysteries of the heart. So it looks like he's got his screen up. And Matt, how you doing there? Do you got it up?
I think so. I think I need to be talking in order for it to show, though. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is it showing?
Yep. There we go. So go ahead and start. I got.
Does it only? Does it only show when I'm talking?
Nope. I got you set up.
Okay, very good. All right, well, I just wrote them. 3 steps to good EQ is first, like I said, is awareness. And second is a huge step, and that is accepting. a lot of people fight and deny and avoid and drink over them and eat over them and do all kind of stuff over trying to get away from their feelings. But if you can accept them, that is a huge step. It only takes a second, actually, to speed up thought, but it does take sometimes in a lot of people's journey. That's the hardest thing that they run across, is accepting, especially the negative feelings. So, and then the third step, of course, is what do you do with them? What do you do with them? They're all happening inside of you, whether you like it or not. They're happening. So what do you do with them? So you can express them. Some of the big nasty ones, sometimes they do need some expression as far as your body goes. But sometimes it's not a good idea to express them. So this is where choice comes in, and this is where you have the power over your own emotions and your own life is in choice of how you express them.
Yeah, choice.
Yeah, key.
Yeah. Right. So here's where it all starts, in my opinion. Boom. Emotional responsibility. You know, if we can take this huge leap to say, I am 100% responsible for my own thoughts and my own feelings, and especially my own behaviors, then man, I have so much power over my life. I have so many choices. I have so much I can do, where as opposed to if I'm, you know, blaming and whining and complaining and it's they did this to me and the world did this and it's the economy and it's this and that and the other. Come on, I created the feelings, they're my thoughts. I got to deal with them. I can change them, and I do have power over them, and that gives me power over my life, in my opinion. That's what's working for me.
Yeah, and
yes?
I just want to jump in, you know, because I love that you use emotional responsibility rather than trying to control your emotions. And I always say, you know, stop trying to control life and start living it. So, and I think responsibility is living it. It is making a choice to really be accountable and responsible for your choices. What do you think about that?
Yeah, yes, very definitely. Control is a tough word. I mean, control is a tough word. We can have a whole hour discussion on control, but yeah. Sometimes, right? Control, and it's not do you control, it's how do you, because you do. You do. It's how. We couldn't survive if we didn't. But control of our emotions, sometimes, yeah, I've gotten in trouble for saying stuff like that expression is the way to go, and I've had a lot of people get very upset with me about that because they've had bad experiences with people expressing their emotions all over the place. Are you proposing that we go out and, you know, say what we need to say and to anybody, anytime, whenever you feel like it? I'm saying, no, heck no. There's very definitely control issues here, and in a good way. We do need to control them, and if we can be aware of them and accept them and learn to express them in cool ways, then we can control them. Otherwise, a lot of times they're controlling us.
Yes, yes. And what we know about what we've learned about the subconscious mind, we know that the subconscious mind can control a lot of those emotions until we bring into alignment the subconscious and the consciousness that allows us the ability to choose. You know, I'm feeling this come up, but before it comes out, that consciousness comes in, and then the rest is my responsibility. I get to choose versus I am only at choice because I won't take responsibility. That is so key. Well, Matt, I have a question for you too, and along these lines, you know, you talked about the power that we can give ourselves, it coming through those choices, but how do people actually find themselves in that when they're in the pain of thinking, I did this, and yes, I take responsibility for it, but it's happened. And, you know, now what? I'm in the space of taking responsibility, but I guess my question is, how do I get to healing?
And that is a good question, and that luckily is one of my specialties. We've been teaching emotional healing classes for like 30 years, and that is a whole nother part of EQ that a lot of people don't know about. There's the academic part of it, there's the business part of it, and then there's the healing part of it, which is phenomenal. We've had some unbelievable results with people just dealing with their feelings, exactly what you were just saying, and what Cynthia was saying about her past. She had some tough, man, as kids, we start off pretty clean. We start off, actually, in my opinion, we start off with 100% IQ, totally perfect IQ, because little kids, not EQ, sorry, little kids, when they're born, they are fully expressive, right? They feel something. They don't have any judgment about it. If they're hungry, they're hungry. If they're tired, they're tired. If they're messy, whatever, they're uncomfortable, they cry, and they express themselves perfectly clearly. And then when they're done, they're done. There's no residual. It's just done. Excuse me. But as we start to progress or grow up a little bit, stuff happens, and kids have bad things happen to them. Kids have, challenges. Kids have, kids. We're just alive, and things happen, and big negative feelings come up. And a lot of times our parents don't know how to deal with them, and will not deal with them sometimes, because they never dealt with their own, and they're avoiding their own, and they don't let the kids deal with them. Or the kid has no idea how to deal with them. And we don't talk about it at school. We don't talk about it at home. What do you do with it? So you just are stuck with it. Like Cynthia said, you end up getting shut down. You got these huge traumatic, rocked your world kind of feelings. And what do you do with them? What do you do with them? They just sit in there and either fester, or they turn negative, or they, they have all kinds of, like Lynn said, a lot of times unconscious effects on us that we don't even know what's happening with them, and they are still affecting us to this day, but we're not even aware of them. So dealing with some of the negative stuff that happened as a child is very, very, very important, and I'll go through the steps of how they're created if you like.
Great, that would be wonderful. Let's do that.
Okay, cool. I'm going to screen share again.
Okay. And
okay, so
yeah, great, good, we got that.
Yeah, this is how we've been working with a therapist named Doc Downing. He's a PhD LMFT. He's been in therapy for 35 years or so, and we do an intensive weekend workshop that's about healing some of our past, trauma and such like that. And he's been there a lot of the time, and he's helped me with all of the logical part of it, the therapeutic part of it, and the cognitive part of it. I'm emotional, as you can see, emotion nut, and I'm totally right brain. He's much more left brain, so he can make some sense of these. And all over the place. But so here's how he says it works, and this is where Cynthia and I got into it about the feelings first or the meanings first. Yes, you get the feelings first in your body, but these are feelings as effects of. So let me just explain. Events happen, right? Stuff happens. Kids get hurt. People get left. For me, my dad was in the Air Force, and we moved all the time. And so I didn't create any social bonds that I could have or should have or whatever, and I ended up being a mess. And so because we moved all the time, that was my events, and the meanings that I put on that, the belief systems that were created inside of me, or that I created to make some sense of the world is had to do with, like, I'm alone, I'm not lovable, nobody wants to be around me, something's wrong with me, because all people, we were leaving, or my friends were leaving, because they were in the Air Force too, and everybody's going, and so I thought that was me. I thought that they were leaving me personally, and that's a lot of things. What happened with kids is they're really good observers, and they see what's going on, and they can feel what's going on, but they don't know how to interpret it. they go, oh, it must be me. I don't know I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why this guy's beating on me. I don't know why, somebody's having this, is leaving me. I don't know why. So it must be me. That's what, that we tend to personalize it and create these meanings out of it. And from that comes feelings. If I don't feel lovable and I don't feel, I'm not connected and I'm not socially bonded with people, I got a bunch of feelings of sadness, of fear. I was a very, very scared person all the time because I didn't know how to deal with stuff. Angry. I was angry at the world, man. I was angry at the world. I didn't know what was going on, and so I'd get mad, and I didn't know. I don't know. Anyway, so from the meanings come the feelings, and of course, with all those feelings, you have behaviors, and oh boy, here we go, right? That's where the problems come in, right? And so, anyway. Event, meaning, feeling, behavior. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making sense. Making sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to heal that, this is what we've been working with. In order to heal that, you do it backwards, and you go through the feelings. The feelings seem to be the glue that keep the meanings in place. The meanings are like big negative generalizations, limiting choices, stuff I am, the world is, men are, women are, life is, my family is, stuff, big stuff like that a lot of times end up being unconscious, but the feelings stuff them down and keep them in place. And what we found is if you can get into those feelings and really let your body feel as strongly as your body wants to feel. I mean, when you were a kid and those things that rocked your world happened to you, they were not pretty. They were not pretty, and they're not. It's not. I don't know what to say. It's not pretty. Sometimes the expression like that is it's pretty raw and pretty down and dirty. So, but the healing that comes from that is unreal. So if you can allow your body to just be as angry as it really is, or be as afraid and curl up in a ball and just a disaster like you are, even for a minute, then it just somehow allows the spiritual thing to happen where you can kind of let go of it. It pops and it disconnects, and you don't have this stuff all glued and slammed in there, and you can actually have you can connect with your feelings, and you can touch them, and you have more choices, and you have more you have more bandwidth. It's very cool how that works, and you can change the meanings. You can say, you know what, maybe this wasn't me. Maybe it wasn't all me. Maybe I'm all right. Maybe.
Well, I have a question in there. So is meaning those belief systems and that also are attached to meanings? What we, belief systems. And I talk a little bit about that, and I've also shared with people about when you and I were having that conversation, and I brought up belief systems, and you go, "What's the acronym for belief systems?" And I sat there for a little bit because I thought, God, it's so easy, but is that what he's asking me? And you go, BS. They're BS. And so can you, the meanings and belief systems and those kind of things, can you get in a little bit of that and how that affects our emotions and feelings a little bit? Is that something you can
sure.
talk about a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, the little kids or it's not necessarily little kids. It could happen yesterday. We are always constantly trying to make some sense of the world, and that's what those meanings are. It's how do I fit in? How do I not fit in? How lovable am I? How powerful am I? How aware am I? How intelligent am I? How likable am I? I mean, all that stuff. Those are all meanings that we put on our lives and ourselves, and they're like little stories that we tell ourselves that, I told myself that people left me because of me, that I was no good. I made that up. Nobody told me that. I made it up. It's a story. That's why I call it BS. It's kind of cool, and in that way it's really cool because, like Freud said, that we get stuck in these different places, and after years and years and years of psychotherapy, that maybe you can adjust some of that stuff. And he used to work with Alfred Adler, and Adler said, bull. He said, I don't think that's how it works. I think we decide how to be, and we decide who we are and how we fit in and how we don't fit in as kids, and therefore we can redecide as adults and change a lot of that, a lot of it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that in, because, that's one of the things that I share, with my story is, what I went through as a kid through the sexual abuse and rape and all those the beatings and stuff that I went through. And I just came to a point where I decided I wasn't going to take that anymore, and I needed to make a change. And that's why I have that powerful question in Harmonics is, what would you rather have instead? And make that choice to go in that direction. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And Lynn, do you have anything to kind of bring up on that? And then we can move on to the question we have.
Actually, when I think about some of the things that I went through, the real big is to recognize the place that you make that decision to stay in choice about what you would rather have instead. To vacillate, oh, there's safety here, there's safety there. I think that a lot of people have moved themselves out of the pain because of deciding, this is it. If the responsibility is mine, I'm taking it. You told in your story today, at 16, you moved out. You decided, and you made your move forward to do that. At 18, I decided I've got to go. I moved out. I went on my way. And there's a point in time where even as adults, as older adults, we see how our emotions are holding us back, impacting our business, impacting our relationships, and we're trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Well, it is that just haven't decided to be responsible for making a different choice, staying in the positive, even though you want to sometimes go over here to be lazy or whatever. It really is making that decision that you're going to walk out of whatever that feeling is, and recognize it when it comes up in your future, because walking out of it doesn't mean it won't show up for you. But then you get to be in choice about how you are going to express that feeling, what it's going to look like.
Awesome, Lynn. That's great. Also, I want to, Matt, I know you've been working in the education system with kids and everything. Is that right? And can you speak to, the changes that are happening in there and, for our kids and, all this bullying thing that's been going on and stuff like that? I'd like to hear a little bit about that. Would you be open to sharing some of that?
Absolutely. That's one of my happiest things, actually, is that we're starting to teach EQ to kids in school from the beginning. I just love that is happening, and it is starting to happen. It really is, for real. There's a lot of legislation now to require in public schools to require some forms of what they call social and emotional learning, SEL, social and emotional learning. There's SEL.org. CASEL.org is the biggest promoter. They're the ones who write the new laws and try to get them influenced and that sort of thing. So they're doing a fantastic job. They've already passed federal legislation. A year before last, they increased it last year, and it's moving ahead. So research-wise, it's doing fabulous. It seems funny, but okay, remember I was saying there's left brain IQ and there's right brain EQ. So we're teaching IQ stuff, good IQ stuff in school, and that's cool. Reading, writing, arithmetic, etc., and passing the tests and get a job, right? That's all good left brain stuff. The right brain stuff, the social such, they're saying we don't have time for this. We got to do the test scores. We got to, do the proper curriculum. La 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 la. Well, what they're finding is that they've been doing it long enough. They just did a meta study of 211 school districts. They try to do this district-wide so that the kids and the teachers and the admin and the district folk, everybody is involved. Everybody buys into this thing. Then that we're teaching emotions are okay. Emotions are a good thing, and to spread that around. The bullying thing is one of the best things that's ever happened to the United States, in my opinion, because it's huge awareness. There's now money to teach people about their feelings. Don't be a butthead. Don't bully people. And if you see somebody being bullied, help them out. And if somebody's already been bullied, notice how much they're hurting. That's called empathy and compassion. They're fantastic, and they're fantastic skills, and they're teachable skills. They're teachable skills. You know, love is a teachable skill. How cool is that? You can teach this to kids in school, and it is. So anyway, I was talking about that meta study. They're finding that with the districts that have incorporated SEL in a big way into their schools had not only have dramatic increases in pro-social behavior. That means the kids are actually reaching out and helping each other. They actually are nice to each other. They actually, care about each other. Pro-social behaviors, and decreases in antisocial behaviors: less guns, less weapons, less absences, less, etc. All the yucky stuff. And ready for this? 11% increase in test scores. 11% increase in test scores. That means that their EQ training on the right side is actually helping their left side. It helps their brain work better. How cool is that?
That's amazing. I'm so excited to hear this information. I can now be even a little more present to some of the stuff that my grandson is doing in school.
Yep.
My take on it was, I send him to school. He learns the IQ piece. He comes home and he's in the world of EQ and IQ. But how you actually talk about that and how you bring it in as the science that it is was something that, for me, I was just coming from the heart. But there are people in our audience who are really looking at this from, what's the science behind it? I love these statistics because that adds the credibility to the science. But tell us a little more about the science behind it.
Well, since I'm, like I said, I'm a right-brainer, that science part of it is not my specialty, I'm afraid. I can give you a number of different statistics that are based on other people doing the science. We have, one of the company that I'm working with, the closest is called 6 Seconds. They're in Menlo Park, California, and they are the largest EQ trainers in the world, and they have offices in 12 countries now, I believe. And they have schools. They have whole schools specifically geared toward pushing EQ for the kids. They're private schools, so the parents want their kids to go there, or their charter school. So they do the statistics. They do the left brain stuff. They do the science and the whole thing, and they do massive numbers of studies. And I have a number of statistics on the website on eqrocks.com. But the whole science of, because I call it left brain and right brain, right? Technically, that's not exactly true. It's actually the top and the middle. Your amygdala is in the middle underneath it, and some other stuff. But I call it, it works for people to explain to people. You know how it's left brain is your logic and the right brain is your feeling? And they go, yeah. You go, there, good. I'm good. Good. That's huge just in itself, that you can understand the difference between the two, and that there is a difference, and that, how you learn all this cool stuff in school and you didn't learn a bunch of other stuff that you needed to know, and people always go, yeah, I know what you mean. So that's what I want it to be, as simple and clear and as it can be. I'm not a science dude. Yes,
you're the EQ dude. You feel.
Right.
You're like me. I'm very feeling, and for the longest time I was having experiences from somewhere else that was coming in and helping me know things that when I'd ask people, a lot of people didn't know, and they all looked at me like I was strange and crazy. But that's why I went in the direction of, being a bioacoustic research scientist, energy informatic. I studied frequencies. I wanted to understand why I was having these experiences and other people don't. So yes, to get in there and really get the science and be able to share it, I have to share what other people are finding, because even though I'm a research scientist, means I study. other people through using that, like bioacoustics, the voice profiling. I study people's voices, and I give the research that I receive back from the people that I work with, my clients, to the bioacoustics, to Sound Health. And so we give our research back. And but as far as people, such as one of my favorites, the working with the heart and everything, is the Institute of Heart Math. I mean, they are just phenomenal in the information that they're showing and really getting backed up. And I shared a lot of that on our first show, Adventures of the Heart, Mysteries of the Heart. And I mean, there's so many people now out there that are really doing those studies, because for the longest time, mostly the studies were done around the brain. And you brought up the amygdala. Now, the amygdala, from the study that I've done and I've understood for research, not only is the the heart cell, once the heart is pumping and doing its thing, the next cell is the amygdala, which is our limbic system, where a lot of our feelings and everything come from. So the heart, they're showing that the heart then goes to the brain, and then it travels back and forth. It's sharing, it's going back and forth, but it starts here in the heart and then goes to the brain. And so that was really interesting when I found out that study about, as far as cells, what cells come next, what's going on in our body, and that the heart is the central communication center of every single one of our cells, and that includes brain cells.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I love this conversation, because as you're talking, I'm seeing the kids in one study of how EQ has benefited them. And by the same token, I'm totally there. I think with my dad in my life, I was growing up to be more of an EQ person. And then at 7 years old and learning that, I saw people's response to me was, you can't be like that. You don't want to be like that. You want to be like this, which took me to the other extreme. And, I grew up the rest of my adult life in the whole IQ space. And I learned and did the systems, and I actually participated in the research that was pulled together on certain aspects of business. And I'm looking at people in business, and it makes more sense to me now. I understand a little more now about how it is that we could do a study on women executives in business and understand what they saw some of the things were that they needed that they were not getting in the corporate environment. Because the people who were receiving these studies couldn't understand it. I think the majority of women are in more of the balanced space of EQ and IQ, especially when they have kids. They really have to come in that balanced space with kids who are learning, and then you still want to hug them and nurture them and sing songs with them and all the things that are right brain. Yet when you take that to the corporate world, or even out in the entrepreneurial world, you see most people want you to be in this box of left brain. No emotions, and you're hugging me, what's wrong with you? And I have to honestly say too that over the course of time, the last few years in the business arena, the closer relationships, being able to go up to a guy who's a business associate and hug him and not feel like there's anything weird going on there is becoming more acceptable. Nice. I think it's because of how EQ has impacted people, even if they didn't know it was EQ. So speak to that for me for just a moment. What have you seen as far as some of the business people that you've worked with?
EQ in business has been found, as their finding is phenomenal. Improvements in teamwork, improvements in customer service, improvements in retention, employee retention. One of the hottest subjects right now is employee engagement, which means that the employee cares actually a little bit about what they're doing, and that if you talk to the person like a person, and if you treat them decently, that they're a lot more, and you give them challenges, and you give them feedback, and you're gentle about it, and you can give them you can even be you can give them negative feedback or that kind of thing, but if you do it gently, as if the person mattered, if they weren't actually trying to hurt you, kind of thing, you can, they're finding huge changes. One example is that FedEx. FedEx is 6 seconds, one of their biggest success stories, because FedEx has something like 240,000 employees, and every one of the managers at FedEx has to go through some type of EQ training, and from that they found that the deliveries are better, the safety's better, their employee retention's better, et cetera, et cetera, and they're bought into it in a huge way. The United States Navy, the United States Army, the Army just put through, University of Pennsylvania, excuse me, put through, they wanted to do a train the trainer thing. There's 1.1 million soldiers, and it's hard to train all those guys. So what they did is they trained the drill sergeants who trained the soldiers, and they did what they call resiliency training, which is awesome, because resiliency, what that means is that, you know, two guys are standing next to each other, a bomb goes off, boom, right in front of them, and maybe somebody gets really badly hurt. Well, one guy goes home and he's a mess. He's got PTSD bad. He can't function. He can't do, you know, much of anything. The other guy goes home and he's okay, and he ends up, in fact, helping more people. In fact, makes an awesome family. In fact, hugs everybody. That kind of thing. So, what's the difference? What is the difference? And it's resiliency is the word that they're using. What are you going to do with these negative things that happen to you? What are you, when you have 100% emotional responsibility, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to let it make you worse, or are you going to make it make you better? You choose. And those same concepts in business are working beautifully. I can give you some more stats on that if you like.
Wow. Since a lot of our audience is business people, at least right now, as we grow, I'm sure that our audience will expand into more than just business people. One of the things that I think we're targeting for this audience is leaders. You know, leaders of family, leaders of groups, and yeah, so the whole business aspect, leaders are interested in.
Okay, let me talk about that just for a minute. Do you guys know who Daniel Goleman is? He's the one who coined the term emotional intelligence, I think, from what I understand. But if he didn't coin it, he certainly put it on the map, because Daniel Goleman wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence, EQ, Why EQ Can Matter More Than IQ. Well, my personal opinion is it's not a competition. It's IQ, we've got our IQ way up here, we've got our EQs way down here. We just need to bring it up and balance, like Lynn said earlier. It's a balance thing. EQ plus IQ is not one or better than the other. You need them both. You need them both. So he said that they are predicting success, and they have significant statistics on success, higher success in business people who have higher EQ. Every time, and not every time, but you know, there are tons of information on that. Daniel Goleman has been awarded, he was voted in the top 25, it was number 5 in the top 25 most influential books in history of the United States. So that book on EQ, and since then people are going, wow. And he now teaches at Google. He teaches at Google has a whole center for emotional intelligence there, because they found out that Daniel said, don't even bother giving them IQ tests. The guys at Google are off the charts on their IQ, right? These guys are the most brilliant guys on the planet, right? But some of them are going to kick butt, and some of them are going to do okay, and some will be middle managers, and some of them are going to be really succeed. What's the difference? EQ. How about that?
Yeah, and that brings in more creativity too, you know, and really I believe people who are creative in what they do is they create a better environment, and they're better leaders too. You know, as far as speaking to leadership, you know, when we talk about being a good parent and you know, showing the way, and you know, because we get mirrored, you know, a lot by you know, the positions that we're in, and if we're in a leadership role, it is important that we can do it through being in a more creative state of being, because we're also able to deal with different kinds of people. You know, the ones that maybe are a little bit more IQ, and someone who's a little bit even more emotional, who is having difficulties with their emotions. But when we're in that balanced state of left and right brain, which I call whole brain balance, which comes from also the heart, we are able to create, you know, better better environments that we want to be in, for, you know, more meaningful environment within our businesses, more meaningful environment, you know, in the work that we're in. And like you were talking about with their statistics, it makes a huge difference. It you know, balances everything out, and I call it, you know, harmonics, that harmonics of the heart, or that harmony of your life. Harmonize your life. And EQ.
I was just finding out, I was digging through my notes. Google has a chief happiness officer, CHO, one of the top guys in the organization. Chief happiness officer, that's his job. And, yeah. Yep, for real. And I don't know if you guys have heard some of the stories about how well Google treats their employees, and Apple too. And you know, they do laundry for them, the kids, they take care of the kids, they can go to sleep if they want to, you can totally flexible hours, on and on and on, because it's about you. You guys will we'll help take care of you as best we can. You just keep creating, like Cynthia said, just keep creating, be creative. They got a day, I think I forget what it was, but it's like a day or month or a couple hours a week or something like that, where they are allowed to work on anything they feel like working on, anything, whatever it is. Just be creative, find cool stuff. And that's how stuff like Google Docs started, and Google Maps, and some of those other stuff, as they went, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And they go, yeah, go ahead, work on it. That kind of stuff.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Oh gosh, and you know, how exciting is that we have that coming up, and we're on Hangouts on air. Okay, Google Hangouts on air.
Yeah.
Someone said they're because they were allowed to have that creativity for us to be able to come here and share EQ. And you know, you guys coming in here, I didn't know this information that Matt's sharing with us right now. How cool is that? That we're learning that this Hangouts on air probably came from someone who got that information within their work to be more creative and to come up with these ideas so that we can share information and make a difference in this world. That's huge. That's huge for me to hear.
Matt, I have one other really poignant subject around which I'd love to ask you a question. You know, we talked about kids, we talked about business, we talked about the individuals, and one of the things that I was talking to a friend about not too long is, and Cynthia and I were talking about this, the fact that there are people, and now it's coming to be groups of people, who are increasing in the statistical numbers as far as suicide is concerned. You know, one of the most horrible things we've seen is a kid go into his school where he has grown up with these kids that he's just gone around and killed. But the other thing is, on the flip side, in the professional arena, sometimes when we hear suicide statistics, we don't hear about whether or not they were entrepreneurs or whether or not they were business people. You know, we heard about Wall Street, and when Wall Street crashed back in, you know, to start the Depression, all the guys were jumping out of the windows and stuff like that. But now we've found out that doctors are among the numbers of doctors committing suicide these days. The numbers are increasing drastically, because when they have this lofty idea about helping to heal people, and they get, you know, through school, they come out of school with all this debt, and they have to buy into the way to earn the income to pay off some of this stuff, and then starting practices and all this stuff. They end up on this journey that takes them to a place where they say it's better to just end it than to do something about it. What's your take on this suicide thing, and how does EQ actually resolve some of the dis-ease in people in that?
Going through that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is one of my favorite subjects because I think it is directly related. I think that suicides are directly related to people not knowing how to deal with their feelings because they were never taught. And I mean, bottom line, you feel this much, it's too much, I'm done. That's it. That's one way. That's one of the choices. We have lots of choices, right? That's one of the choices. But the other thing is that, like the veteran said, the last 4 years, we've had more suicides, more guys died from suicide than died in combat.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes. Each year, the VA is one of the fastest growing U.S. government agencies because there's horrible PTSD and horrible outcomes to the war and all that. And the suicides, they're talking 18 to 20 a day nationally. It's just unbelievable. I just read something. 3 months post-deployment, 45% of active duty, 33% of National Guard soldiers met screening criteria for at least one mental health problem, diagnosable. And it's one of my favorite subjects, though, because one of the things that we have done in class is, in the workshops that we do, is to help people learn how to deal with their feelings. And we have had people, and I kid you not, some of them are my best friends now, because they were in class because they said, you know what, I will give this one shot. I'm done. We had this one guy, I don't want to say his name, but he's now one of my best friends, like I said, he had a shotgun in his car. He's like, this is it. I'm done. You've got one chance. And we had one weekend, and like, dude, how angry are you? Like Cynthia said, or Lynn, you said people get that power to make those decisions. How much anger was involved in that? There's anger involved in that. Anger's a terrible, terrible thing, right? Society-wise, oh, we can't do anger. We have to do anger. We have to do anger. All of us are angry. We have no idea what to do with it as a society. It's one of my favorite subjects because it makes so much difference. It makes so much transformational difference in people if they can understand and accept and learn how to express their anger in productive ways, not like an idiot, not bashing people, not spewing all over the place. That's not emotional responsibility. You say, I'm angry about this, and I'm not okay with this, and I'm going to do something about it, or I'm not going to do something about it, or I'm going to leave. And it's I am angry. I'm taking responsibility. And if I just be angry for a few minutes, then you know what? I probably won't be angry in a minute. Just give me a minute here. And we say bed, couch, or pillow. You can pound. Do some pounding if you need to. Do some yelling if you need to. You don't have to do it every time, but you have to have access to that whole part of you, and to have it be okay with you, because denying anger is just the biggest, hugest thing, where I think more people have lost their lives to that than most anything else. Oh, I'm not angry. Like, what the heck? Are you crazy? You are very, 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 very angry, and you're trying not to be. Like you said, it's denial, and it's not okay. It's not socially acceptable, and the result is they can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And you're saying this guy came to your weekend training? And
more than one.
Learned
more than one.
enough.
I know of 10 people. 10 people last year said to my face, in the last 2 years, said to my face, "This saved my life," and they meant it. 10. I can tell you every one of their names. I was like, good. That's what motivates me. That's why I'm jumping up and down here, going, you guys, this is really important. I'm not selling me. I'm selling you. I'm selling you. I'm selling you emotions. I'm selling you that there's a whole nother side of you that if you've never dealt with some of the stuff from your childhood, if you've never delved into your real emotions, there's whole parts of you that you don't even know. You never met them. There's whole parts of you that you don't even know. And once you find them, you're like, golly, I had no idea.
And it is about, like you said, and we've talked about, no feeling, no healing. You got to feel, because otherwise you won't know yourself. And also you suppress and depress everything down in there, and it just eats you alive. It hurts your heart, and your heart's going to communicate that to every single cell. So since I speak from the heart, and it's just amazing. Now we are getting to the top of the hour, and I want to honor everybody's time. And this was so emotional and wonderful to have it expressed the way that you did and feel your emotion. We could feel your emotion, and I connect with you, and I feel you, and I'm so happy to be here sharing this, because I know everybody else out there is feeling this too. To bring feelings back to life here. This is life. So you had 7 steps to healing negative feelings. Now I know, I don't know how, if you can put them up there and kind of just take us a little step through that to end this up, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And gosh, I just would like to continue. We're going to do another show here and bring this in, because this is really, we touched on a lot of subjects here that are really important to life. So I'm going to give it up to you for this last step, because I know people are asking, and how can we get a hold of you? How can we get into your classes? Where do we go for a website? All those things.
How do we find the EQ dude?
Yeah.
Matt, you muted yourself.
Oh, no.
Got it. Okay.
He was pulling up his screen.
Yeah. Cynthia, I've got a bunch of things that I write just like I talk, like right, too much. And,
yeah.
So
well, do you want to pull? Are you pulling something up, or would you like to? Okay. So while you pull that up, Lynn, what do you have to say to this experience that we just had? This is building wisdom through experience, and we just had an experience here. And I want you all to feel that experience, because it just built a lot of wisdom in me, and I know it's building wisdom in you guys, everybody who's joined us and who's going to watch this. This is really incredible information.
One of the things that we decided we would explore was the mysteries of the heart. And to really come to understand that one of the mysteries of the heart is not knowing how the heart is so directly connected with the brain. Left side, right side, doesn't matter. When your heart is involved, it all comes into alignment. And that is what EQ is about. That is, I think, what helps to understand how the left brain IQ and the right brain EQ coming together do promote that whole brain balance. That emotional responsibility is in that space. And we're just so happy to be able to bring this and Matt to you tonight. Cynthia said we're going to have him back on the show, because you can't cover everything in 1 hour show. You just can't.
Yeah. We had done our first show, and it ended up being an hour and a half, because it was our introductory show, and we really wanted to give some really great information and some science, that backs up some of these mysteries that we've been hearing about, and we want to understand more. And that's what why we're going to continue these adventures of the heart, so that you can learn more about yourself. Like Matt says, it's about you. So, Matt, are you getting that up, or you want to just take us through the steps there? Awesome.
I got it. Okay, these are mine, and so I just made them up, but it's based on a lot of work on this. So 7 steps. So first one, to emotional healing, and that's about number 1, I know me. I am aware of myself and my feelings. It's awareness is the first part. Second, knowing what my body feels, being able to identify with that, or identify those. What I found is that it's really, really helpful to have a huge vocabulary of different feelings, like I feel exasperated, and I feel anxious, and I feel embarrassed, and it's great to be able to describe your experience to yourself and to other people, it's really cool to have a big emotional vocabulary. But also, for emotional healing point of view, what we're finding is that it's really helpful to not have a big vocabulary, to sum it all up really succinctly into 3 negative feelings, just 3: sadness, fear, and anger. If you can deal with your own sadness, your own fear, and your own anger, there isn't much that life can throw at you that you can't handle. That is pretty cool, huh? So knowing what your body, knowing what your body feels is super important, and being able to separate those. You might sound angry and you might look angry, but it's really fear underneath there, and that's what's pushing at it. The anger is to protect you and to keep people away from you because you're so afraid, and that sort of thing. So being able to identify them and separate them is really huge part of this whole thing. So there's IQ about your EQ, which is where you know what you're feeling. So it's, metacognition, someone also called it. It's your thoughts about, or your thoughts about your feelings. So third is, like I said earlier, biggest step, probably one of the biggest steps in the whole thing is acceptance. Just accepting your feelings, accepting your heart, saying to yourself, if I can accept me and I can accept my feelings, that's self-esteem. That I'm like, okay, yeah, that's how I feel. That's who I am. It's okay. Now I can deal with that, and now I can do something good or bad with it, but at least accept it first, and then I can go, yeah, that really is who I am. That's real. So that's me. That's self-esteem. So then expression, of course, and then as you express, you can release. You can release these things. They kind of pop. And if you like I said, if you can get to, and you don't need us for this, you don't have to come to our class to do this. You can do this at home. You don't need anybody or anything to do emotional healing, to do EQ work. You don't need anything. You can stand in the middle of the field. You can sit in your chair right now and you can go, I really am angry. I really am, or I really am sad. And you can allow your body to feel that stuff to the bottom, and let it happen. And then it's just like one of the best sayings we have is negative feelings expressed as intensely as our body feels them will reduce in intensity and are free to change. So we can be really, really angry, and we can allow that, and then it goes. It just kind of goes. Try being angry for more than 5 minutes. You can't do it. It's really hard. If you're really, really angry, 15 minutes max, just stomping, pissing mad. You can't do it very long. You're going to feel better after a little bit if you're responsible for it, not blaming. You can say this behavior made me mad, or this, it made me mad because of my thoughts about them, etc. But anyway, so release negative feelings, replace those negative feelings. The negative feelings kind of have some kind of spiritual, they take up room inside our body. It's hard to tell where they are, but when you release them, you go, whoa. you there's a space, there's a feeling there, there's a room there that wasn't there before, and you can fill that back up with yucky stuff or good stuff. It's your choice. Again, we're back to choice again, but it's yours, so you can clean out, you can move the stuff out of the way, and then you come back, and we like to do get in there with a little scrub brush, just nice and soft and just real gentle, and be nice with yourself, and take more. What color would you like? What color would you want to fill this space with? Ask your higher power how much of that color. A lot of people pick blue, pretty blues or greens, and go, how much of blue is there in the world? Plenty, right? For you to fill up that room, there's tons. Just let it come through. You can open up your top chakra and just let it flow all over you, and just be blue. Just be blue if that's what you want to be, and fill it up, and then you can use that for positive feelings. And then of course at the end you get to rejoice because you done good, and that's the point anyway.
Okay. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Oh man. Took you all the way through the cycle and left you at the place that you always wanted to be, happy.
Yeah.
That's the happy Serenity. Joy, the full of being able to breathe again.
And I think what it does is it brings you back alive. You start feeling again, and it's life.
Yeah.
That's the way we feel. You know, addiction, let's later down the line, you know, as far as talking about, you know, that's a lot of things that come in to numb ourselves out, all those kind of things, tranquilize ourselves. It is about feeling. And, you know, I got to share with people, you know, to start feeling and really know who you are and really be in your heart, there's nothing higher and better and more joyful than, that's my high. Oh, that's when I am in absolute, like, bliss, you know, and, you know, that's why you know, to feel is just an amazing thing to really teach us that we are alive in this world.
And you did that all by yourself.
What's that?
You did it all by yourself. You created it, right? You did that all by yourself. Didn't need anything or anybody. Boom.
Absolutely. So, Matt, how can people get a hold of you? What's the website, or where would you like people to go to connect with you?
I was going to say you like to EQ Rock, so EQRocks.com and Matt at EQRocks.com.
Okay.
M-A-T-T.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's the email, Matt at EQRocks.com, okay, and EQRocks.com is the website. Wonderful things on there. He has, you know, gosh, you have a little book, little thing to take you through 7 steps to something. I'm trying to remember what was on there because I got that. It was awesome. And so really go in there if you really want to shift some feelings and understand your emotions. You know, take the time to go in there. One of the things I like to talk about, you know, just to leave you guys with is you cannot stop. Well, my whole feelings are like waves. You cannot stop them from coming, but you can decide which ones to surf. Okay? Yeah. And that's what Matt was talking about. You have choice. You have choice, and to take responsibility. Yeah, you can feel angry, but no, it's your anger. It's your anger. And
it's okay.
Feel it so that you can become more alive today. So, Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of wrap things up also. And, yeah, and thank you guys, everybody, for showing up and being here and sharing with us, because this was a very emotional experience for me, and I hope it was for you too. And that's a good thing.
This was a brilliant, brilliant session tonight with the EQ dude, Matt Perelstein. We want to thank everyone for coming. Join us again next week and every Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here, same place, same time, because we are going to explore more of the mysteries of the heart. So find Matt Perelstein at EQRocks.com. You can see the information on the screen now. On Facebook or LinkedIn, find the EQ Dude at the Emotional Intelligence Network. And we will help you to find him, because you're going to find him if you go to my website at thep3academy.com or Cynthia's at harmonics.org. You will find information on how to connect with Matt Perelstein. And it has just truly been our pleasure to bring to you tonight's show. Adventures of the Heart. We are helping you to bring the heart back into your life, back into your business, and build wisdom through experience. And we hope that this has been a great experience for you. I know it's been for me and for Cynthia. So thanks again for joining us. Thanks for hanging out a little longer than we anticipated. We appreciate you, and our heart to yours. Thank you for being here today. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, and breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. And have a good night.
Bye
Thanks
for now.
Thanks for spreading the good news about EQ.
Yes. Bye-bye for now.